there's a lot of talk about all that refund money.
Yeah.
Okay, cash in the system. What kind of effect does that have on the economy? And does it help at all, do you think, or hurt maybe on inflation and the jobs picture?
There's a lot to unpack there. I'd
Yep.
say very simplistically, the president is wisely saying it and selling it. These things are coming. It's about to, because the Democrats have grabbed a stranglehold on this term of affordability, right? Everything's not affordable under the Republicans. I think we're going to start seeing it, right? That's the key here. So we got to see it in the spending. Consumer spending has been very resilient, regardless of even terrible inflation during the Biden eras. I do think it does start to cause some inflationary pressures, and here's why. Not only are individual Americans going to get a raise because of tax cuts, you're also going to see wage growth increase, and Taylor and I talked about this before, is about profit margin in S&P 500 companies are at 13.1%. I believe that's a record. So there's a lot more cash that they can give out wages, and you're going to see that increase take-home pay. So I think in the back half of the year, you're going to get more inflationary pressures, which is that whole debate that's going on now. Should the Fed have cut? Should they cut again? Do we worry about do we worry about inflation or job growth? I think it's both. First is jobs, second is inflation.
Gosh, Jackie, if Lou's right about that.
No.
Okay, now you think he's not right. Okay, so Taylor.
No, go to Jackie.
Taylor wants it. Okay. If he's right, Jackie, about that, that would be a problem, I would think, for the midterms for Republicans. Whereas if he's wrong, but you do get the cash in the pockets, I think that helps with the whole cost of living debate for Republicans. What do you say?
Yes on the latter, and I also think Lou is wrong.
Wait, yes on the latter was wrong
today.
I said three things, so I got to be right on one of them.
Well, you said inflation's probably going to go.
You're going to get inflationary pressures in the back half of next year.
Okay, so I don't agree with that.
Okay.
And I'm going to borrow off of something that Taylor has pointed out before, which I really like. When you think about COVID stimulus contributing to inflation, that was printed money, it was fake money, it was like monopoly money that we came up with. But this is money that is being refunded. It's money that's in the system that you earned that is being refunded back to you. That's coming from the coffers somewhere.
Does it spend the same way, though?
It spends the same way, so I understand the whole, a lot of dollars chasing few goods, but on the supply side, I think we have more supply. I think it acts as a bolster for the economy, but not necessarily stimulative. We had the great Larry Kudlow here just the other day, and he was saying that he thinks inflation will drop in the first half of the year. Others have been saying that to 2.5%.
No, I think it will
now,
in the first half.
If
It's the
that
back half
happens,
that's a concern.
if it happens, you're saying once they get the money and then they spend it?
Yes.
Okay, well, we got to make it till November to impact the midterms and see how that goes. But, the back half is another conversation. Consumers, Americans, voters, they're all thinking about what's happening right now. And that's the issue because, Brian, they're not feeling this right now. And so for quite some time, we've been telling them, hold on, it's coming. But now it actually really is coming. So I think it's actually in perfect time for midterm elections because people will feel better about the economy. That's been it was one of the reasons, the top reasons that he was elected. And it's one of the reasons right now that people are dissatisfied with things. So I think it's all kind of coming to fruition.
So Lou's looking for he got 2 out of 3 right on that one. The meatloaf defense, 2 out of 3.
I want to be completely wrong about inflation. I think maybe in the back half.
What do you think, Dagan? What do you think about the build up to this? I've been part of this. I've been saying, look, I think 2026 is going to be good because you got big, beautiful bill juice coming. What do you think about it?
Well, there's so many things at play, but I want to focus on the big, beautiful law.
Okay.
And all the Republicans have to do is say, not one Democrat wanted you to keep $2,000 in your own money. Every single Democrat running up, people in the House running for re-election, that guy, that girl voted for you to pay $2,000 more a year in taxes.
The whole story, or so much of the story, and Taylor put up the chart on this the other day, CapEx, data centers versus everything else. Lou, do you expect everything else to do a little more catching up in the new year, or is this going to still be this really bifurcated story of data center CapEx and everything else sort of just chugging along.
My crystal ball is broken, but I can point to the data that gives us what's coming, right? So
Need a magic 8 ball
I know.
instead.
In the first quarter of this year, AI spending really made up the majority of GDP growth. We got into the second and third quarter, you're seeing the rest of the economy catch up. And if we look at the stock performance in recent weeks, right, we're hitting new highs without all of the Mag 7 rallying, without all of the AI trades. So you're seeing a rotation of money. When money comes out of big name tech companies that were leading this rally, but doesn't leave the market and the market keeps marching higher, it means those other companies are rallying. So capital is being redeployed in other areas of the market, which is a very healthy sign. I don't think the CapEx is going to stop. I think we're still very early days of AI spending. You're starting to see some delays. That's natural. I think the key question is there an equilibrium of compute? And what I mean by that, is there a certain amount of compute that we have where we can do everything we need? I would argue no, we'll never get there because we'll keep thinking of new ways. But we're trying to figure out how many data centers do we need? Where's the real demand? Is it just for these OpenAI, ChatGPT, or is it for real solutions and businesses? I'd point to a company like Lemonade, which is an insurance company, right?
Oh,
Boring industry. Yeah.
Me too.
It's taken the oldest, most boring industry and turned those lemons into lemonade by using AI. They're growing revenue, customers, premiums, double and triple digits, and their headcounts are going down. So that's a practical use and business solution of AI versus us jumping into GPT and trying to be more productive.
Well, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't see them. But one thing that the way people feel and the way people will feel next year when they go to the ballot box is not inextricably linked to the stock market.
Agreed.
And so they might be diverging even more. Like people could feel much better about the economy, and the market could be puttering along.
Yeah.
Because looking at the Russell 2000, would you say it was at an all-time high the other day? But 40% of the companies in the Russell have
Still
no earnings
unprofitable.
at all.
Yeah, 20% of those are biotech, so you wouldn't expect them to, but you're right.
But 40%, so it's more than
Right.
just biotech
Yeah.
in the Russell. So
I think
it's
you bring
not
up a
driven
good-
by earnings; it's driven by euphoria.
America
You know?
needs a seat at the bottom line, right? It's not is gas down, is this line item, it is do I have more money at the end of the month than I did a couple months ago? That feeling is going to dictate how the midterms go, in my opinion.
But walking around New York City smelling pot literally everywhere, you just see the dumbing down of society also, in addition to the data that supports the psycho.
Yeah, to your
also-
point, this is what surprises me. I'm a data-driven guy. There's data that you pointed out for
Yeah.
THC, but there's data for psychedelics like psilocybin for curing for PTSD that is overwhelming
treatment
and
of
safe for treatment. And we're going the wrong direction on that side.
Drug-resistant depression,
Yeah.
the use of psilocybin and other hallucinogens.
Yeah, single doses are curing.
Another issue, AI regulatory certainty clears the deck for max AI investment. And number 3, this shows that now AI dominance is a national security issue, not just in Scott Bessent's words, a number one national economic priority.
Yeah.
This is national security. Then that sort of circles back to the 21st Century Manhattan Project, full game on, all steam ahead, whatever those sayings are, and let's go.
So I agree with all of that. I think you're preempting. Preempting is pro-growth. You're making sure that you can actually fully realize the potential here. On the state issue, I'd argue this. Other issues that I want states to have control of, if I don't like a state and how they've ruled on it, I can move to another state. How can I do that with AI? It is a technology that transcends. I can't say, well, I like New York's AI laws or don't. I'm going to go to Texas's because it's really just a different implementation. I look at this as the way.
Wait, why can't you?
Because it's a technology that's ever pervasive in every part of society. You're never going to be able to separate it by state lines. Like you could, abortion is available in these states and not in those states. So I think this is equivalent to different rules for the internet when you have the European Commission versus the United States. So I think you have to be very forward and thinking and say, we need not 75 rule books, so 50 US plus all these international ones. We need a single rule book and standard that we can operate off of. Otherwise, we're just going to get bogged down in bureaucracy and lag the rest of the world.
I just want to throw to you like
The 10th Amendment.
No, you like doing it. I love this. You're like, I want, if we're going to do it for these guys, we got to do it for these guys, right? So imagine you get a president, I don't know, AOC, says climate is the Manhattan Project of our day. We cannot let states regulate fossil fuels willy-nilly and ruin our ability to solve the climate crisis. Therefore, Texas will now have the right to issue permits for fossil fuels in a different way than New York or California. Executive order decreed by AOC. How do we argue against that?
That was good.
When we're in favor of this?
Three counselors had me on the other side, but you just got me.
I should have been a lawyer.
This is the debate that we have to have when it comes to this issue. Although Commerce Clause was strong.
It's a worthy. It was a worthy.
If AOC does that, then it goes through the courts.
Right.
She can't do that. You can't tell Texas what it can or can't do on its land.
But why can you therefore
This is
tell
not on the
Texas
land.
what it can do with regulations for kids on AI or something?
Because it involves interstate commerce.
Right, it's digital. The attack surface, what we're talking about here is digital. It's pervasive. You can't.
The climate is pervasive, Lou. The climate's over all of us.
Yes, it is, but you can't delineate the lines of difference between state and national AI, just like you can't with climate. So I'd argue that you're never going to get climate.
We don't have time for this, but I don't know if I buy that for sure. But I know we don't have time.
We'll work on your argument a little bit. Taylor, you had a great point with the national security. You comparing it to the internet was very interesting too, because it does seem very similar. Commerce Clause, you're outnumbered so far,
the states are trying to regulate the internet in terms of social, in terms of social media and what age children
But there's
are
a simple
to use it.
fix there, the decency clause, or the communications, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Just make it's Sarbanes-Oxley for social media. Make the executives liable for it. You'll get rid of all the garbage on social media.
All right. Again, we talk about the cost of the college degree. We talk about the upside to it potentially not being as much as it once was. And so there are options out there, and I love seeing this.
Yeah, I love it. It seems to be a renaissance in the trades, the skilled trades. It's starting to come up. And as a tech guy, right, we're talking about AI all the time. The reality is even data centers need really skilled trades to build them. So there's a tremendous shortage across the real estate market. We've talked about diesel mechanic repair shops. The economy still runs on very physical things. No matter how digital it gets, no matter how much you can get delivered to your door from Amazon because they have a great web server that matches you, you still need something physical to deliver, and people fix it. So I think, we argued it could be the push that gets people out of going to 4-year liberal arts degrees and spending $40,000, $50,000 that they don't need to, and instead start making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. I love it.
You go home at the end of the day and you're like, what did I do? You're like, I repaired somebody's broken shower. Plumbing and electrician. That would be my go-to.
No matter how advanced robots get, I don't think a robot's going to be able to come into your apartment and drill those cabinets like that.
Yeah. My dishwasher broke. If anyone knows how to fix it.
It's never too late to learn, though. I grew up with a single mom that tried to fix everything, didn't learn many skills, but then renovated a house in my 20s. I convinced my ex-wife to let me do it. And it's never too, yes.
Like bare hands.
Bare hands. I learned electrical, plumbing. Well, here's the thing. You save money. When you pay one time for someone $180 to install a ceiling fan, you go, no, I'm going to figure this out on my own because there's 7 rooms that I got to install.
Well, you just hope you don't get electrocuted in the process.
You learn. You just stay away from the high power.
So then I have two poo-pooers here on this panel. To pick up on what Brian said, the private sector has to out-innovate Beijing. One way, for example, SpaceX. Elon Musk company, rumored, he hasn't directly confirmed it, but has tweeted that reports are generally accurate, that they're looking at IPOing soon. But I think the question is, at $1.5 trillion valuation, that's the rumor, do you like that? Why not invest in a company like that who can take on people like China?
I don't like being a sucker at the table. So if it's going to come public at a $1.5 trillion market valuation, here's the stats that will tell you never to buy an IPO. Over 50% of companies that IPO, if you bought it at the IPO price, 6 months later and 12 months later, are below the IPO price. Only about 20 to 30% outperform. So if I'm looking at SpaceX, I think it critically needs to be funded. But all those private companies and private investors have already made all the returns. They're the ones that are cashing out when it goes public. I would wait for SpaceX to go public, the valuation to change. There's a lockup 6 months later where insiders can sell, people can liquidate. Those are typically the times to buy IPOs. If you really want to dig into the data, my alma mater, University of Florida, Jay Ritter, the professor there, has all the background on IPO returns, what most of them are a sucker's bet, and how you can predict it. But I would not be buying.
Gators.
Yeah, go
Dagan, your thoughts?
I love Jay Ritter's work.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm very familiar with it. I just imagine, if you invest in SpaceX once it's public, it's like the worst airline, like a super high cost, very low margin business. And every time there's a rocket launch, you're just watching it just full of just agita and angst. And the rocket just blows up with no people on board on the launch pad. And you're like, oh, in the stock tanks. I just can't imagine being a shareholder in that company, not until it's something more, something else.
Here's
That's
a
all.
food for thought. This is a opinion piece. SpaceX might be valued at 50 times sale because of the growth potential in the Starlink broadband business in space, which already has more than 8 million customers, and because the potential for AI computing in space.
So I'll take everyone's saying AI is going to move to space by 2030. Absolutely not. I'll take the over all day long. It's going to be 2040 to 2050 before we have data centers in space. But here's the other thing on this SpaceX IPO. How many companies are publicly traded now that are over $1 trillion market cap? It's like
10.
12 to 15 globally. So you're saying if you buy SpaceX's IPO, you think it's going to be one of those 15?
Yes.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
but you got to go from $1.5 trillion to 5 to 10 to make money as an investor. The people that are going to make money are the early backers. I think everyday investors like us should wait for a pullback.
But that data center thing in space,
I know.
be amazing.
He talked
because
about it with Jensen Huang 2
It's
weeks
cold. You don't have to get any permits from anybody.
Told you. Yep, and it's constant sun that powers it. If it's solar based.
Yeah.